Okay, question 8. We have at Springfield University the weights of chinchilla rabbits and 10 sable rabbits were recorded. The aim was to find out whether the chinchilla rabbits are generally heavier than sable rabbits. Right. This was the sample taken, and these were the weights. So they want to know were the chinchilla rabbits, were these heavier than these ones? Now you can look at the sample and say, well, look, it looks like, it seems like these guys are heavier, but this is only 10 rabbits, and we need to run a t-test to actually find out with some level of significance whether the rabbits are heavier or not. We can't just look at these 10 data points and go, yeah, well, definitely these rabbits are heavier than these rabbits. It doesn't work like that. We have to run the t-test. Anyway, the first thing is it says write down the null and alternative hypotheses, right? So the null hypothesis H0, is that they're the same. We always start when we're running a t-test to look at the difference of means. We always assume that they're equal. That's the null hypothesis. We assume that there's no difference in the means. So we're going to say that this mean is equal to this mean. Now, you can do it like in the mark scheme. They do mu c for chinchilla rabbits and mu s for sable rabbits. So this is your null hypothesis, that the means are the same. If you wanted to call this mu1 and mu2, that would be fine as well, as long as you make sure that you say mu1 is for chinchilla and mu2 is for sable. Anyway, the null or the alternative hypothesis is we gotta look at this. What do they say? The aim was to find out whether these are heavier, whether these guys are heavier than these guys. So the alternative hypothesis, and hence it'll be a one-tailed test, is that the chinchilla guys are heavier, so that the average, the mean, the mu, is heavier than the mu for the sable rabbits. So that's it. That's your H0, that's your H1. B, find the p-value for the test, right? At this point, we go into the calculator. I've already put in the data here, guys. I'm going to call this, let's call it whatever you want, as long as you know what you're doing, though. I'm just going to call it UC for mu C. I don't have a mu letter here, so let's just say UC, and then US. Okay. Then we go menu, statistics, stat tests, and we want a 2-sample t-test, because we've got 2 samples, and we're running a t-test. The data input method is data, because we're putting in the data. If it was stats, if you had the mean and the variance or whatever, you do that, but we have the data. There we go. Press OK. Okay, my list 1, so that'll be from my mu1, that is going to be UC. My list 2 is my US. Frequency, just leave that the same. And this is important. The alternate hypothesis or alternative hypothesis is that mu1 is bigger than mu2. This is bigger than this because of this that we've already discussed. Yes, they should always be pooled for these 2-sample t-tests. And put the results here, that's fine. And then press OK. Okay, so we have a p-value of 0.04. P is equal to 0.040807. That's easy to remember. P equals 0.040807, or if you like, 0.408 to 3 significant figures. Okay, now, so that's our p-value. Then it says write down the conclusion to the test. Give a reason for your answer. So what does this mean? Well, because the p-value is less than, so it's a 5% significance level. So as 0.0408 is less than 0.05, we reject, if this is a small p-value, we reject the null hypothesis.
And then we'll say, I mean, that's enough for your 2 marks, to be honest, because that's your reason that the p-value is smaller than 0.05. And rejecting the null hypothesis, that's the conclusion of the test. But I'm just going to add in, there is reason to suggest, or I was just going to say reason to believe, there's reason to believe that the chinchilla rabbits, it's always good to be able to just refer back to the question at hand. So to believe that the chinchilla rabbits are generally heavier than the sable rabbits. Done. Okay, that's it. T-test. Question 8, not a difficult one really. That's a pretty standard T-test question. I would argue that's a nice 6 marks to get in an exam, but if you don't know how to run a T-test, obviously you'll get 0 marks.